Okay there. Hello there, traders. Welcome to the TOGS Trading Podcast, number 17. Here we are. So, firstly, thank you everybody for watching us, for subscribing, for your comments, your likes and stuff. It's really great. Really appreciate it. Some of the emails we get from people saying how it's helped them is great. It's great. That's the whole idea, to basically give you a little bit of insight into what it's really like. So, here we are, TOGS 17, which is all about talking about do you need a trading routine? Okay, do you need a trading routine? And as always, I'm here with Big Ian in Dublin to sort of discuss this, all right, and have our own chat. So, looking good, Billy Ray. How
Thank
are
you
you
very much.
doing?
Oh, okay. I wasn't actually trading for the last few days either. It's a bank holiday here. My wife was in Germany.
Yep.
So I had my son with me, and his school was closed for an extra day. So we were in the west of Ireland. I have a house in the west of Ireland, and just went down there for a few days and hung around. And I don't think I'll be working today. I think this is the only work thing that I'll do today, because I have Germans coming tonight, and I have to clean the house and do some shopping and make beds and maybe a B&B host or Airbnb host. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to
I'm
getting
going to
back.
make somebody a lovely wife one day, Ian.
Oh, I was raised by my mother first altogether. I mean, I can cook, I can sew, I cut hair.
There you
Amazingly.
go.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
There
it's
you go.
fantastic.
You're a man for all seasons. Yeah, you're a
Yeah,
man for all seasons stuff. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, it was bank holiday here in the UK as well. I actually took
Mm,
Sunday and Monday off and stuff. Just didn't even got all my weekend trading work done on the Saturday, and then literally basically, so it meant I could have Sunday, Monday, just literally
mm,
off to myself and stuff and what have you. So, and I think these kind of little breaks are they're good. They're important to actually have a couple of days no, just away from trading. But I didn't look at my emails, didn't look at my computers, didn't look at anything. Just literally, 48 hour
mm,
period of actually basically just being out enjoying it was quite nice weather here and stuff. Just being out and about and enjoying it,
mm.
making the most of it. But that has just meant that yesterday and today has been super busy because tomorrow I am off to Scotland for me and my friends are doing a cannonball run
Oh yeah.
up through the sort of eastern part of Scotland on some of the great driving roads, and then coming down the west coast through Glencoe through the roads that were used for the movies The Highlander and Skyfall and such like that. So
Mm,
there's a bunch of us in Astons and Lotuses and Porsches, sort of terracing around Scotland, and not up the A9, which is just with average road cameras all the way along. We'll be giving that a good wide berth and stuff. But anyway, it has meant these couple of days have been busy and stuff,
mm.
trying to fit in a bit of trading, fit everything else in. Has made it. It's a full and busy week. So here we are today to talk about having a trading routine. Ian, all right. What are your thoughts on the on whether people should have a trading routine first and foremost?
Well, first of all, it's a very dear subject to me, routines, which I'll get onto later on.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking routines basically are the foundation of all success and failure because you're either in a routine that's going to support your success, or you're in a routine that's going to support your failure. And it's basically because the subconscious is reflected in your routine, and your subconscious makes 90% of the decisions that you make during a day. And basically, your routine will either help you make good decisions, or which is your subconscious basically helping you make good decisions, or you'll make your bad decisions. Um, and just to give you an idea, basically how the subconscious works, if you were driving a car and you're thinking about your holidays, who's driving the car? It's basically your subconscious is carrying out a lot of those tasks without the real need of conscious intervention from your brain. So that's where routines kind of start, and it's basically the same as even going on a diet or any of those types of things. It's a routine that's going to help you either achieve that or not achieve that. And a routine is a set of rules you can implement without the need for self-discipline, which I
Yeah,
thought was my own little thing when I was sitting down thinking about that flash of insight.
yeah,
Um, because self-discipline is it's something that's very energy intensive, and it gets wasted out. You get burned out trying to use self-discipline all the time. So
totally. I'm with you. I'm with you on that and
yeah.
stuff. And motivation might get you started, and it's for anything. Motivation might get you started. It might give the inspiration, okay, the spark to get started. But it's not. It is not what will sustain you through through that change, or as I would say in trading wise, building support structures that basically underpin your progress, okay, and underpin your journey towards success. And so yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. And you're absolutely right. Self discipline. You read lots in, let's say, trading psychology and stuff about the importance of discipline. I agree. We talk about how discipline is a muscle and it needs to be trained. And to an element, I agree. But also, like a muscle, it can be burnt out. It can be overstretched, and any strength overstretched becomes a weakness. And self discipline is like that as well. And so, actually, this is where having good routines helps you underpin and actually do the right things at the right time, because one of the kind of the additional benefits is I think it builds self-trust. Okay, you build self-trust in yourself. Everybody thinks they can trust themselves, but it's not until you actually are in a really kind of, let's say, clutch moment, all right, whether that be on a sports field or on a trading field or on a battlefield or in a boardroom presentation, where you're in a clutch moment. And it is about, do you have the trust in yourself to basically do what needs to be done to give yourself the best opportunity to achieve the outcome. And in trading wise, I generally do believe that routines help you in that. Right? They really do. But as I often say, they don't sound sexy or exciting. So people sort of kind of give them a bit of a they dog leg around them, or they just pay lip service to them, don't they?
I don't believe in self-discipline that much, to be quite honest with you, because what I found with self-discipline over the years, self-discipline is great for short term. It's great to get you started doing something. But in the long term, what you have to do is you have to change your subconscious to either let you do it. It's like going to the gym, because I've been two sides in my life with gym going. So at one stage I used to go to the gym 5 days a week. Loved it. Really relaxed. Fun, really relaxing. So the amount of self-discipline that I had to do something that I secretly enjoyed was not very good. So I could sit there all day long and point at people and go, look at how self-disciplined I am. I go to the gym 5 days a week. What do you do? Where I was just basically secretly enjoying it. I was going there, I was meeting friends because I was there so often. I knew lots of the people that were there, and it was a nice thing. So it's also a thing that I think that people make a mistake with self-discipline, is that what, especially newer traders, is what they're trying to do, what they're really doing, it isn't self-discipline, is they're driving themselves to a state of anxiety to try and create focus, to push themselves past that, and they're mistaking that for self-discipline. And so, that isn't self-discipline. That's panic. At the end of the day, that's a type of panic. It's the same thing, when people are doing exams. And I think that there's two reasons for it. One is that that's how they think trading should be. You should be sitting there at the edge of your seat. But they've watched the Wolf of Wall Street, or they watched one of these big trading films where they're all like, oh my God, and that's the image they have of it. The other thing I was going to come on to is I'm dyslexic. And so dyslexia is in the world, dyslexia is seen as a problem with spelling and writing and reading. But it's not that. It's the whole organization of your brain, or lack of organization of your brain. So what ends up happening is, like, to give you an example, when I clean the house, because it's the place I saw it very first, is that I'll do a little bit of hoovering, then I'll do a little bit of polishing, then I'll do a little bit of tidying, then I'll go back to the hoovering for a little bit. And I won't do a task the whole way through. I'll do 90% of a task and then I'll go on and do something else, which drives my wife nuts, because I'll sort of clean up 90% and then leave a cup in the middle of the floor or something like that. So it's so dyslexic people tend to be really disorganized, and trading is a job where you need to be highly organized. And it's the same, by the way, for people who have a touch of ADHD or any of those types of problems. They tend to do it. And there's two types. They tend to have share some of the same problems. And there's two types of dyslexics. There are people who are highly organized, which is me, because I have to be highly organized. And there are people who are just all over the place. But it affects things like your short-term memory, because this pen, like when you're talking and I'm listening, I'm taking notes, because my short-term memory is quite bad. And I know my short-term memory is quite bad. So if I'm going to respond to whatever you said 3 minutes ago, I have to write it down, because I won't remember it. So So that was that. 4 in 10, 4 in 10 self-made millionaires are apparently dyslexic,
Yeah.
which is quite good because there are strengths in dyslexia. You can tend to be quite good with big picture stuff with patterns. Dyslexics tend to be really good with patterns, and not just trading patterns, but also when and where and how things repeat. And they also tend to be quite good with empathy. Now, one of the things I want to say, because it's probably mostly men that are watching it, empathy does not equal sympathy. It's not a
Yeah.
weakness.
Yeah.
It's a tool that you can use to get the result that you want to have by understanding what the other person is doing. And you can use that empathy in the market. So you can sit down and have basically almost an emotional connection with the market where you're feeling what the market is feeling, you're feeling what other traders are feeling. And that is a like you can use that as a strength.
100%.
Yeah, so so I have to have a really strong trading routine for myself, or I'll forget something, or you know, uh, I'll make a mistake. So everything has to be very routine, and everything has to be very much the same. And because I get kicked out of routines easily, I can lose a day just in my own personal life. Like today, I have people coming from Germany this evening. And instead of working, I'm completely disorganized. And I know that I have 10 things I have to do. And I'm going to miss a day's work just to get those things done, just instead of staying in my good work routine. So that's that's my thing basically with
Yeah.
dyslexia.
Well, listen, I knew, we've talked plenty of time about
Mm.
dyslexia. I didn't realize that dyslexia, or certain types of dyslexia was very, very good at recognizing patterns and stuff and what have you. But I
Mm.
suppose it makes sense, I suppose, if you think about it and what have you. But you're absolutely, you are right there and stuff because we're all different, all right. We all have our
Mm.
uniqueness in our own way. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and I think the main thing is about whatever we are kind of challenged with or dealing with, it is about part of it is as big a question is about how do you turn that kind of that threat or that weakness, how do you turn it into a strength, how do you turn it into an opportunity, where do you find the positives in that particular, be it situation, be it challenge, be it however you wish to describe it, and how can you flip that and turn that into a strength of yours? And clearly, that's what you've been doing. So that's that
Mm.
I think that as an aside is a fantastic, and itself is a kind of fantastic element there, right? To be applauded. Um, when it comes to trading, and we've said this many times, I mean, trading is a performance activity. And as I try to, people who are not very good at the kind of routines, the first three letters of performance are PER: plan, execute, review. All right. That's what you're constantly looking to do every day as your trader. And part of that is, you plan for your day. Not only do you plan your trade, but, you plan how you conduct yourself during that day. And that helps when you have a routine in place that helps put you in a good place, in a place where you are in a position to make better decisions rather than you just coming to the market from disorganized, being all over the place, being a bit of a shambles in your personal life and bringing that to the market. And I can try and get across the message to people that you want a pre-market routine, you want a during market routine, you want an in-between market routine if you're trading like European session or American session, and then you want a post-market routine. Doesn't have to be perfect to begin with, but you do have to start to put these little bits in place, all right? And I would go deeper into, as I've talked about, the joy of checklists and stuff and what have you. And your routine can be a checklist, and all of these things, they are support structures. Okay, support structures can be a whole wide range of different things, but the important thing is that you have them. They don't have to be perfect. Okay, they won't be perfect, but start putting them in place, and then as you evolve as a trader, all right, and as part of your review, the third letter in performance is actually about how do I make my routines better and stuff. And I think it is something that really underpins. I in all my time, I have not worked alongside or coached or mentored any traders who have had any sustainable success that do not have a solid routine in place to help them. I think it's really really crucial element to have in place.
Mm. Yeah, I just, when I was saying that, I was thinking as well, it's one of the things that it's about accepting yourself as well, to some extent. I was just thinking with the dyslexia thing, it's about accepting yourself to a certain extent and accepting your
Yep.
weaknesses, which is the same for everybody.
Yeah.
So you have to go and you have to look at yourself and say, okay, realistically, I'm good at this, and realistically, I'm really bad at that. And this is how I have to organize myself around it. Um, and then once you do that, you can kind of move on. And how I found out I was dyslexic, just as a matter of interest, was in the 1980s when I was in school. I was just stupid and lazy. So there was no, because I'm moderately dyslexic. Dyslexia is basically there's a range, and I would be moderate. So anybody who's read anything that I've ever written would see my dyslexia in it. They'll say that there's words missing, there's words spelled wrong, there's mistakes in it, basically. And then I was around a friend's house when I was about 27, 28. And I was writing something out like directions or something for his girlfriend at the time, and she was a social worker who worked with dyslexic kids, and she just went, "Oh, I didn't know you were dyslexic." When she was watching me writing the whole thing, maybe because my lips were moving, I have no clue, but anyway, that's how I discovered it in the first bit, that's how I was dyslexic. I find my morning part of my routine is my favorite part of the day, and I'm either going to make money then from that, or I'm going to lose, because what I do is I look at 4 different charts in the morning. So I look at a complex fib chart, I look at a simple fib chart, I look at a basically almost naked daily chart. There might be one trend line on it or something, and then I look at a traditional 60-minute with all the TA done up. And my job at that particular stage is just to pick a direction.
Yep.
And then once I pick the direction, I have to pick the type of action I expect to see if prices to go in that direction. So if you're in a bear flag, for instance, and price is going down, but it's come into support, but it's created a bear flag, if it goes in the direction of the implied direction of the flag, in other words, down, you can expect it to not move that quickly without news or some other catalyst. Because everybody knows where it's going. Everybody knows that price is going to go down, and probably 70% of the market, if you include all of the traders in the market and all the amateur traders, are all trading the bear flag to go as a continuation. So if I believe, for whatever reason, my analysis tells me up, I know that if it's going to break to the upside, it's going to have to do that with a lot of energy, because it's going to trap the shorts. That's the first thing, and add fuel to the push on the way up. It shows dominance by the longs. And that gives me an idea basically of what I should be looking at. So my analysis says up. The pattern says this is how the pattern needs to resolve to do that. So I have an idea at the end of my morning analysis of the direction, which I'm normally right on direction. Because direction, you're only picking, price can only go 3 ways. Even if you flicked a coin, you're probably going to be right 50% of the time. So price can only go 3 ways, up, down, or sideways. And once you pick that direction, the rest of your day, the next 8 or 10 hours, are just pretty mechanical. Because you have made that determination that prices, we say, are going to go up. And you've made a determination of what type of action you want to see. And then your technical analysis tells you where that should happen. And then it's just a case of waiting to see that start to unfold. And once you start to see that unfold, then you're implementing a reasonably mechanical system, which is TA, trigger, in the direction, sit in your hands. That's all it is. And just doing it. And that's basically it. So it's my favorite part of the day, because it's the most interesting part of the day, is my morning routine. And it's the bit where I either win for the day or I lose for the day when it comes down to actual trading. Because if I pick the wrong direction, it's not a disaster.
Yep.
Means, but I could end up, because I'm wrong at the beginning, I could end up being left with no option later in the day but to try and pick a turn point. So you thought you're going to go up, price is going to go down, so now you're looking for support to try and catch that falling knife, perhaps, or you're trying to join into a move that's already underway that you initially don't believe in. You know, you don't have no emotional connection to this move down, so you're not. It is really it is really the time where you're making your money or you're not making your money, and you know it's the only problem you can have with it is timing. Because I was looking at a setup in oil just out of sheer interest, and it took 2 days for the setup to actually, like, I knew where price was going to come back to, but it took 2 days to get there. So, which was really quite surprised me. I just thought it would happen on the day. So yeah, so that's that.
I would probably even go a little bit deep in terms of saying that as part of your during market routine, it is also, do you have a routine that you follow to confirm that you are on the right side of the market? There's nothing wrong with being on the wrong side of the market. As you said earlier, you can flip it, you can call it wrong. That's fine. It happens. You could have called it really well, but something's happened and the market has turned on you and reversed. That's fine. That happens to everybody. But do you have a routine that basically you work through that alerts you as quickly as possible that, do you know what? I was long and I was wrong. All right, this market ain't going there. I need to do something. I need to do something about this. Okay. And it is it's actually probably one of my weaknesses as a trader, is that I was talking to some people about this last week, is that I'm no good at flipping my position. So I can take a position. I have no problem being wrong in that position. You know, if I was long and the position triggers in and then it flips and starts dropping, I've no problem cutting the trade and getting out. What I have a real weakness about is completely flipping to the short side straight away. If I've taken a loss, I tend to step away and assess. It's that OODA loop coming out of me. Okay, observe what's gone on, reorient myself, decide what I'll do, and then act. And so I step away to come back into it. Whereas actually, I don't flip. Where the really truly great traders can be wrong and will in that moment flip their position, and that's never been a strength of mine. And I know that and stuff. No problem being wrong. No problem cutting my trade and getting out. No problem with that at all. But then immediately flipping the other way. That's the weakness. But part of it is just to go back. Is about actually having a routine to realize, right, I've taken this position. What do I do now to basically to confirm that my position was right, or B, what is it like? Almost like an early warning routine that kind of alerts me that actually this position ain't going to work out. I was wrong. That's fine. I have to correct in whatever way I do that. Correct myself and step away. So it's something to give some thought and consideration to as part of lots of different little routines that can help you manage yourself during the day, so that you're you're not burning through your emotional capital, which basically is what brings on sort of decision fatigue, which generally tends to lead to crappy trading choices mostly. What routines do you need to help just give you a set of guidelines that basically channel you through the kind of the sort of, let's say, the best practice as a trader during that day. Okay, they're not going to be perfect. They're not actually probably going to be right all the time, but over the course of your career, they allow you to make better choices more of the time, and that's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing that works, because as my own personal hero, Paul Tudor Jones says, you're not really in the trading business, you're in the decision-making business. And the better you are prepared to make good decisions, the better you are likely to have in terms of your overall outcomes over the course of your career. And I'm inclined to agree with PTJ.
Knowing that you're wrong, that's called getting stopped in my world, basically. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I always think, because I get stopped.
You're a scalper.
So I get stopped really easily. So there's only two things that can and it's one of the reasons why you shouldn't fear being stopped, because being stopped gives you loads of information because you were wrong on something.
Yeah.
if you trust your technical analysis and you trust your basic analysis, and you trust yourself as a trader, that basically means you made a decision that was wrong. Now, I'm not any great shakes at flipping from long to short at all either. Part of that is the time frame that I work in, because you have to be very exact. So your first stop in an area can mean that you're not being like, just because you got stopped in this area doesn't mean that another area 10 points down won't achieve the support that you're hoping for. So you can get stopped once, you can get stopped one second time, and then if I get stopped the third time, the day's over, basically.
Yep.
And the thing is that I'm right on direction most of the time. So like, I'd be right on direction in excess of 70 something percent of the time. So when I do get it wrong, it isn't the end of the world. I know it'll come back in the next couple of days. It'll do whatever. It's also very hard as well to flip, as I said just there a minute ago, that it's very hard to flip. You've made this whole plan and emotionally involved yourself in this whole plan of going in one direction, and it's so hard to just give it up, like, because you really, it's not your ego or something. It's just that your whole analysis has said this is the answer. And then somebody else is saying, no, it's not the answer. And it can be a little bit, I find that sometimes a little bit difficult. Like, sometimes I think the market makes mistakes myself rather than me. Yeah. Other basic things I was thinking about: routines reduce stress.
Yeah.
So you get up in the morning and you know what you're going to do. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about it too much. You just get up and start your day, basically. So I'll take some of these. There's nothing in I've lost my train of thought now. Basically doing a routine means also that you can correct when you're wrong, because if you're doing the same thing again and again, where you're wrong is going to turn up in what you're doing. Is you're going to be able to correct it because you're doing the same thing. So you can see one of those elements isn't working for you. So then you're able to correct that element and move on from there. Also, when you are doing routines and you're less anxious and scared money is the same thing. So it's having a routine stops you or helps you not be scared money. It creates an anchor. Routines create an anchor that you like. I'm a big believer in neurolinguistic programming. And when I used to work in a wine shop, sorry, somebody trying to ring me here at the moment. Let's get rid of it. So when I used to work in a wine shop, you're a different person. And then when somebody comes in the door and you have to do this whole selling thing, you have to change who you are to a certain extent. You have to become the person. So you go from being the guy who's reading the newspaper and kind of bored and slightly hungover to being the kind of person who has to now sell a €700 bottle of wine to some guy who doesn't know what it is. And one of the things I used to do all the time was I used to clap my hands before I start. And that was my little signal to myself, because your body is the source of memory for your emotions. So doing that, just as I saw the people walk in the door, would then cause a shift in myself, where I would turn into Ian the salesman, who is now going to sit there and tell you that this Bordeaux is a wonderful choice for whatever the hell you're doing. Basically, just pay me the money. And it's the same thing with the morning trading routine, because you have that half an hour or 40 minutes that helps you get into the zone that you need to be in trading, because I can't anyway, and I presume not many other people can't do, is I can't just switch on the computer and be Ian the trader. It takes half an hour to get there. And while you're doing that morning routine, it helps you get into that state of mind. For me, as a dyslexic person, it helps me not forget things.
Yeah.
Because it is really super important. Because one of the things when you're there's a lot of stuff to remember when you're trading. You have to cover the same charts. You have to cover the same charts in the same area. You have to cover multiple charts. You might have to cover multiple instruments if you're that type of trader. And things like the news. you could forget you could forget to check the news, and then you're going to get blown out of the water in some trade. So it really helps you just not forget things, I think, and that's a good enough reason in itself to have a routine, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So
Yeah, totally. Those routines will keep you safe.
yeah.
It's one of the reasons they're there, keep you safe. Like things like making sure you're checking the news before the start of every session, so you're not steamrolled by some piece of news
Yeah.
coming out that you didn't know about and stuff, and that
Mm.
that just even that one thing might just make the whole year worthwhile. Doing
Mm.
that routine a whole year just because you didn't get slam dunked and stuff, by a bit of news and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting what you say about NLP. So I'm a big fan of it as well. I did quite a few courses
Mm.
of it back in corporate days and stuff, when it was becoming a new thing. I actually also met, I think the guy's name's Charles Faulkner, who is he has a chapter in the first Market Wizards book, and he's not a
Mm.
trader, but he's an NLP guy, talking about using your brain better, and also talking about some of his work with traders and stuff. And then of course Van Tarp, I did a bit of work with him, read all his books and stuff and what have you. And he there's elements of NLP used in some of the work that he did. So yeah, I'm all for it. Anything that can basically help you understand yourself better, all right, and help you understand your own strengths and weaknesses, so that you can build routines and checklists that basically mitigate your weaknesses and support your strengths. They pay their dividends. It may not necessarily be today, but you get into that routine of following your routines 6 months, 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the path. That is when it starts to pay dividends. And it might well just be that it pays dividends by helping you save you from yourself. I see, I've worked with in the past quite a few DAX intraday traders, who literally, they would contact me because they needed help because their trading was woeful. But actually, once you looked at their routine, or rather their lack of routine, they'd be like, well, DAX opens at 7, set my alarm for, 5 to 7. I kind of sort of roll out of bed, switch the computers on and start hammering away. And then I lose and I'm done by half 8 and stuff. And then they couldn't wonder why they kept repeating this pattern of behavior, etc. And then wondering why they were struggling, kind of to try and trade the DAX. And it wasn't really anything necessarily to do with the DAX. It could have been anything, really. It was not so much basically what they were trading. It was almost like their results were preordained before they'd even switched their computers on. All right. And that's the kind of message I want to get across, is that, this is the way that your results can be preordained before you even switch your computers on. All right. If you're just literally rolling out of bed, and I talk about this on one of the kind of stage 4 courses about it, is, I'm using 90s pop culture references here and stuff. If you want to be the dude, the Big Lebowski, by all means, you're very welcome to be. But you should save it for the weekends, all right, and stuff. Spend your life sitting in your dressing gown, drinking White Russians and stuff, and what have you, and avoiding any kind of responsibility in life. You want to keep that for the weekends. That's great, but it's probably not going to make you a terribly good trader. If you're going to, let's say, for the European session, if you're getting up to trade that European session, you need to have a routine to be up and be prepped for half an hour before your market really gets going. All right, so you need to be understand the market, understand whether your method is viable in that market that day, understand your money management for that day ahead, and understand managing yourself. And you can make a little bit of routine that does it. As you said yourself, it kind of be the best part of your day. The kind of the calm before the storm, getting ready to sort of basically saddle up and ride into action, however you wish to label it or describe it. But the important thing is you do it, because actually it is good for you. It's the best thing possible for you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that part of routines is part of changing you, because if you go into trading, you want to be somebody else. That's why you're going into trading. You want to be the person who is a trader. Or you go to the gym, you want to be the person who goes to the gym. You want to, whatever it is, learn Swahili. You want to be that person. And that routine is the only way that you're actually ever going to get there, by doing the same things again and again and again. I think a lot of that is just simply, it's not how people really have this bad image of trading, and that's why I think that they don't see it, because there is no, in the media, for instance, and even in most of the things when you look at YouTube or you look at those traders, there's no good representation of an actual working trader who's just doing his job. That sort of middle-aged guy, he's kind of boring, gets up at 7:30 or 7:45 or whatever the time it is, and it's because he's going to trade at 9, not at 7, not at 8, whatever. Gets up and then sits there for ages drinking coffee, waking up and looking at charts. And I'm not surprised, because there has never been a great trading film as such about trading.
Yeah.
There's things like Trading Places, which is about the Mortimers and whatever else, but it isn't actually about it. Like, there are elements of trading in it.
Turn
But
those computers back on.
yeah,
Sorry.
there are elements of trading in it, but there's no great film about trading as such, and that's because it's bloody boring.
Yeah, there is that.
It is literally some guy sitting in front of a computer moving a mouse around, and that's all it is. It's like there isn't and anything they do, I'd say it's the same about something like cybersecurity, like where cybersecurity is probably an awful lot of dull work, but then it's the terrorists are doing something, and then they come
Yeah,
to the city to do something, and that's what happens with trading films. So there's a very bad representation of trading. It's anxiety filled in popular culture. It's whatever else, and then people,
yeah,
what I find, especially with new traders, is that they resist doing boring work. They resist doing anything that isn't actually trading, because they don't see that they don't see the value in it. They're not
yeah,
here to do that. They're not here to sit down and analyze a chart. They're here to make money,
yeah,
and that's what they need
yeah,
to do. They're not,
yeah.
and then the
And
whole
that's
sit down. Yeah, sorry.
and that's weird. The desire to avoid the kind of the real deep work is the
Mm,
thing that keeps them in a loop of
mm,
losing money and making no progress. And
mm.
it's kind of it's madness. But then, you know, I sometimes suggest that because quite a few of, let's say, youngsters coming into the business may not have spent any time working in a performance environment. Okay, I had the Air Force that worked in the city itself and stuff, and then I coached sports at a high level as well and stuff. So I've had insight into various different performance environments. So you kind of get an idea of what's required to be basically in the top 10% of anything. All right, you kind of get an understanding of what's required. Lots of people may not have had that experience and stuff and don't understand the value in doing that kind of deep work. All right, to basically put you in the best place, to be the best version of your trading self that turns up in the morning to sit and work in front of the screens, and you owe it to yourself. All right, but then I'm sounding like a broken record here, but it's because it's the truth.
Yes, the same thing I've seen with lots of, because even over the weekend I was doing some mentoring of a trader, and what ends up happening most of the time is that what kills them is that big refusal to actually tackle issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't look at themselves in any way that's a little bit painful, or a little bit of, that could be that they have to acknowledge that there's a weakness within themselves or something like that. If you point out a weakness, like I pointed out weaknesses, I've sat there sometimes with guys, and you're like, well, you're really bad at this thing, and you always consistently, because what you can do when you're from outside, you can see the same patterns
Yeah,
in traders. First of all, there are repeating patterns between all traders that are learning, and then there are repeating patterns within the person. And then when I'm looking at them, I can see that repeating pattern pretty quick. And then when you point it out to them, they get really hurt.
yeah,
So every time you come up against a problem, you flake and you do something else. And nobody in trading can move forward, or are they jump style? That's the other big thing with them. So nobody in trading can move forward without picking a
yeah,
style,
yeah,
doing the work on that, doing the work on themselves, like really getting into the whole nitty gritty of why do I want to do this? How do I do this? How do I feel? All these sort of things, and like really acknowledging themselves. And the last thing I say about it is because I remember for years, like what I used to do, because with the meetup group, is that there's a guy called David Halsey, I've mentioned him before, right? And he does a fib system. And I was actually teaching that fib system over the weekend to a person. And I was going, this fib system is still relevant. It still works. It's still good. There's no problem with it. You can trade. But it only throws out a trade every 2 days. But it throws out really good trades every 2 days. So that means you're sitting there for 48 hours. You're waiting for something to actually do. You're only pressing the button once. And when I send that out to, like, I told everybody to go and read his book, join his site for whatever, for the 30 quid for the time, because what he was doing was, it was concisely putting in a system, got people to think in systems, but no one could ever master the bloody system because they couldn't master the sitting there for 24 hours, 48 hours waiting for one thing to happen. And if you can't do that simple thing to make a success of your business,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do? At the end of the
What was
day.
that?
And I never moved on. I never moved on properly in trading until I settled on one style and said, no matter what happens, I'm not changing my style of trading. That's it. I'm just doing this one style of trading. And I'm going to hammer at this every day until either something goes medically wrong with me or I'm going to learn it. And that's the only way that you can move on with this system as a self-directed trader. So, yeah.
Yeah, it comes back to you don't really generally start to have success until you change. Until if you want to be a good trader, there will be an element of behavior modification required. And lots of people, when they look at that, they think either A, it's too much work, or B, oh, that doesn't sound very sexy or exciting, or or they can't see how that can actually help them have a successful career as a trader. And once you reach that point, that's when you'll see lots of people drift away and stuff. And that's fine, and that's fine. But the change is inevitable, all right. And so why not embrace it? I constantly go on about it. And our mutual friend Piers, he commented on the YouTube channel and stuff there about comments that I made before about how you have to embrace it almost as like trading is the best personal development course you'll ever do for men. All right, I can't really speak for women; it's not fair. It wouldn't be fair of me, but for men, because I see them and I work with them and stuff, and it's the best personal development course that you'll ever do. All right, and so instead of resisting that, you need to flip it and embrace it and say, this is making me a better person, a better human, a better all-rounded individual, which is actually once again the misconception, all right, of the media who basically construe traders as very different people, but actually embrace it. And part of that change becomes easier to bring us back to finish off is when you have routines in place to help you do the right thing, all right? Pre-market, during market, between markets, sessions, after market, all right? Simple routines that will just help underpin you, provide a support structure that just help you do the right things, okay? And that builds self-trust, builds self-confidence, builds self-belief, and helps you change. And you do that, you follow that process until your response becomes automatic. In the same way that soldiers, who practice stripping their rifles and being able to put them back together in the dark, until actually doctors and nurses, practice putting in, cannulas and stuff into people. You all of these kind of little processes, you practice them until your response becomes automatic. And that takes time. And once again, it's not really something you hear educators talk about, or certainly trading education firms, really concentrating on, because, as you said earlier, people resist it. They don't find it very sexy. They don't find it exciting. People would sooner be entertained than educated. That's the sad element of it. But as I said, people know I say this all the time. You just flip that. Those people who want to be entertained, they're probably going to be the people on the other side of your trade. They're going to be your liquidity. So cherish them, because that's the way this path goes, isn't it?
And that's right. Well, what I found a lot of people is first of all, your subconscious. I've said this before actually on the podcast, but your subconscious is designed to stop you feeling pain. It's designed to get you out of a situation where you feel pain, because it's. And when I was trying to explain that to people, the system, the thing that I used is talking to girls. If you're talking to a girl who's much more attractive than you, and you know that she's much more attractive to you, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have a value judgment. You're saying, oh, she's worth more than me. That's the first thing that's going to happen. So you're going to see a value judgment. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to see stress because you're doing something that's uncomfortable. And then what you get guys doing is running away. And nothing good can happen if you run away and don't sit there through the pain and learn ways of dealing with pain. And that's what what ends up happening with a lot of them is that they simply their subconscious puts in a short-term solution to a long-term problem. So basically your subconscious wants you, so you want to meet the girl, you want to talk to the girl, you want the girl to like you, you want to whatever. Your subconscious is going panic, 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 panic. You're not worth as much as this girl. This girl's going to see through you. She's going to see you for the loser that you actually are. Get the hell out of here. Run, run, run. So your short-term solution screws up your long-term solution. And that's what happens a lot of them. So they go into the trading thing there. I don't think a lot of them are actually really that committed to it in the first place, that they're committed to the idea of being rich.
Yeah.
But they're not committed to the idea of actually doing the horrible 10 years of work that it takes to be rich. Yeah. So you have a lack of commitment coupled with pain, coupled with the outcome that's both uncertain, in fact it's very uncertain, and far off in the distance. You know, it takes a different type of person to basically sit down that's committed. I think sometimes I think traders who go the whole distance have to be somehow mentally ill in some part of them, because you're doing something that is absolutely uncomfortable for an unsure outcome that's far off in the distance. That might never come. And the thing is that most traders, if people actually sit down, most traders make a good living, but they don't make a fortune. So all you're really substituting is the nice larger income you would get working in some company, being a, I don't know, engineer or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. That in itself is probably a topic for a podcast and stuff in itself, and what have you. Maybe that'll go in season 2. All right, maybe we'll have a look at that. Mental illness we have known in traders, because I've done a few in stuff and whatever. That could be an entertaining episode all on itself. So all right, well listen, let's draw to a close as always, Ian. So we are in agreement that trading routines are a very good thing for you for a whole host of reasons, and I think we would both sort of say to new traders watching this, spend the time to basically start building routines to help you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be perfect. That's fine. Just start, okay, and review it and add to it, okay, because they will help you. Might not necessarily help you straight away overnight. Actually, for some people it might do if you've just been a complete shambles. But it is about putting in support structures that help support you on your journey towards being the best trader you can be. So I'd say we're both in agreement there, aren't we?
Absolutely, yes.
Definitely. Fabulous. So next week, I think our list is all about prop firms. Okay, the current there's the kind of the current sort of in the spotlight at the moment, and so we'll be talking about prop firms. Are they worth it? Okay, are they a good path? So if you've got thoughts or comments or questions, put it at the end of this or send us an email. Okay, but we will be there next week to deliver that in at some point. So until that time, just want to say once again, thanks everybody for joining us. Okay, thanks. As I said, we really do appreciate all the comments and questions and thoughts and stuff. We really do. It's fabulous and stuff. It's really great. And thanks very much. And until next time, trade well, everybody. Cheers.